Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small, a podcast about brand development, entrepreneurship, and innovation in the modern world. In this episode, I'm joined by Jimmy Martin, co-founder of Brrrn, a cool temp fitness studio out of New York City. After testing out in a Brooklyn fridge, Jimmy realized that cool temp studios are much more efficient for a workout due to the unawareness of sweat and fatigue. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Jimmy Martin of Brrrn. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, Cameron, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to start out with your upbringing. So where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Yeah, once upon a time, there was a family, the Martin family, and they had a son on January 2nd, 1985 in a small town called Forty Fort, Pennsylvania, which is about 15 to 20 minutes south of Scranton. And we all know Scranton from Joe Biden and also the incredible TV show The Office. So
Yeah.
Born and raised, my mom's a small town hairdresser. My dad was a respiratory therapist and cardiovascular sonographer at a hospital, and had that typical small town sports centric upbringing. But fitness has always been the backdrop of my upbringing, and I've been very fortunate to have experienced a lot of different things throughout my life to help inform where I am today with as a person and also as a business owner.
Yeah, for sure. So you said fitness had a lot to do with your upbringing. So what athletics were you involved with, like sports, growing up as a kid?
Yeah, it started pretty young. I would say like kindergarten. It started with t-ball and then progressed its way to soccer, which I wasn't great at. Baseball, which was something that I had done up until I got to high school. But the two sports that really stood out that I actually, later in my life when getting recruited for college, football and wrestling were the two sports that I had done all throughout the year, specifically wrestling.
Yeah.
And wrestling was the sport that allowed me to get a Division I scholarship to George Mason University in Northern Virginia.
Awesome.
Many years later.
Awesome. So did you have an entrepreneurship mindset growing up as well, say like a lemonade stand, or did you ever sell any products growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lemonade stand, but I drank all the lemonade, so I wasn't really sell. So it was a bad sell. I was just selling my very thirsty self.
Yeah.
But growing up in a household where your mom's beauty shop is connected to your house, I didn't realize that I was seeing entrepreneurship, firsthand.
For sure.
Until like later in my life. So like I always loved how my mom was she's a sole proprietor. She single operator, has never paid for an ad in the 40 plus years that she's been in business. She's still working today. She's in her 60s.
Okay.
She looks good for her 60s. So shout out to my mom. Good genetics. But just seeing how the difference that she made at the ground floor with people, people of all backgrounds, all different stages of their life. I just love that the intimacy that can come from sharing an incredible experience with another person. So I think like that was really the inciting incident. And then in college years later, I won an entrepreneurship competition, a silly idea that I didn't think had any legs, and that started to really get me thinking about what could the future hold. A lot of what got me to where I am today was just a combination of setbacks as much as it was opportunities to take advantage of.
For sure. So I saw you went to, like you stated earlier, George Mason University, and you went in 2003, correct?
Yeah, 2003 to 2007.
Okay. What did you study there?
I have a bachelor's in interpersonal communication and a minor in business management. So basically, I wanted to make sure that it would be very hard for me to find a job after college.
Gotcha. So what was your overall experience like there? Were you involved with any clubs? You said wrestling.
Yeah. So like student athletics was at the forefront of that experience. I mean, had gotten close to a full scholarship to wrestle there.
Mm.
And, the good thing about George Mason University is that it really did honor the word student in front of athlete. It was a very intimate environment.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, 3 years into my 4-year experience, our basketball team made it to the Final Four. They were like the Cinderella team. And it was an incredible moment to have like global presence for our wonderful university.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the type of guy that like just felt comfortable being a student athlete. Like I loved involving myself in other experiences with college. Specifically, I was part of this thing called Mason Ambassadors, where I gave tours of the school.
Okay.
And I wanted to do forensics, but I just didn't have the time. But I took classes with the coach of that team, which was like nationally ranked at that time.
Mm.
And it really allowed me to understand the power of the written word, and then how to properly convey it, through performance.
Yeah.
Which kind of led me into my pursuits of wanting to, write and perform after college.
Awesome. And then you stated about an entrepreneurship project. I'm fascinated with that. So what did you do for that project exactly?
Yeah, that's oh my gosh, I'm happy. I'm kind of going back in time for a second. So like in 2006, 2007, I took an entrepreneurship class with a woman she had worked I don't know if she was a patent clerk,
Okay.
But she had worked at the patent office in DC. And you had to work with a few people in your class to literally develop a business from scratch. Specifically product centric. And at that time, as a D1 athlete, I was, we wore like Under Armour shirts, and wrestlers wrestlers train mostly 100% of the time in like a very hot, sweaty room to cut weight. So I had this idea of and I was also going to DC with friends to like to dance clubs and stuff, and I was just tired of just having my hard work, so to speak, be shown on my sleeves, like just like drenched walking out of a club, feeling like, oh my God, like this, I look and feel miserable. So I thought, like, what if there was a clothing line specifically for people who are either hip hop dancers or people who just like to go out dancing, that allowed for a little bit more breathability and flexibility in their clothes. So like it's as if Under Armour had come out with just like a clothing line beyond just like athletic stuff, which they eventually have done. But this is like in 2006. So I called the brand Groove, Groove, and the symbol in the middle was, I believe, like an eighth note. Okay. And the whole tagline was "Get into it." So it was like this is my first like stab at like writing a tagline, coming up with a logo, finding a way to show why our brand made more sense than our competitors. And I did like a funny act out with like, this is what our brand does and this is what other brands do. And I like purposely had my friends, rip holes in their jeans or like have their shirt be super sweaty. It was very much like performance art in the class.
Yeah.
But there was like over like 50 or so people from all the classes that presented, and we won that competition. Wow. And I remember the teacher being like, hey, like, this is actually a really interesting idea. Have you ever thought about potentially pursuing it? And I was like, oh no, I mean, I'm thinking about going to New York to be an actor and writer. So, but I appreciate that. And she was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
So little did I know that the tribulations of an entrepreneur are very similar to the tribulations of someone trying to be seen and heard as a writer and performer in New York.
Absolutely. So I've seen in some other schools and universities that they're actually allowed to pitch to real investors. Was that an idea with your school at all, or was this mainly just to get you guys to brainstorm?
Yeah, she was she was the person that was the main judge, but I believe in order to make the decision of who won, there were other people that she consulted with, but it wasn't it wasn't to any. We pitched it only to her. Okay. So yeah, from what I remember, but yeah. But like it definitely was great practice to like have to lay something down to evoke a certain feeling behind this imaginary product, and to sell her and the rest of the class on potentially buying into it,
Mm-hmm.
so but it's so interesting. Like, I have zero fear now of talking about brands, or
Yeah.
talking about my brand and talking about things in front of people, because having had so many failed auditions as an actor and so many jokes turned down as a writer, you kind of build up this like, this second skin, this like you
Yeah,
get calloused,
for sure.
not necessarily in a negative way, but you just sort of build a tolerance to the word no,
Yeah,
because eventually that it will lead to an eventual yes.
for sure. So prior to Brrrn, what kind of jobs were you working at this time then, following college?
Oh my God, what jobs didn't I do? Oh my gosh. So moving to New York. So the funny but also sad thing is like, I thought I had a job right when I moved here with the Container Store, which is a store here in New York City,
Hmm.
and I was trying to do like be like an overnight stock associate. So I would have time during the day, so I thought, to go out on auditions and do whatever. But then I get there and I realized I didn't even get in it. I was like, someone had written an email that wasn't correct. Like, I actually never had an interview. So I went up there and basically moved there without a job and without a job interview, and said, oh shit, I have to find a job now to pay rent.
Yeah.
You know, so I found, the one thing that a lot of actors and writers and anybody who's entertainment do, if they're not working in the restaurant industries, like they do like promo marketing. So I found like this place that hired extroverted actors and perform and other artists to pass out like newspapers and to work certain like catering gigs and stuff. And so I found a home with that, and um, also did a brief stint as a nude art model, which was actually paid very well. But I slowly walked away from that after my dad during the holiday times was like, you realize that most people get dressed to go to work and you get undressed to go to work. Like, are you okay with that? I'm like, Dad, it pays close to $1,500 in cash per week. I'm pretty good with that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was that, Cameron. It was, I was doing improv and sketch comedy in the city, which is where I really found my home with performing in New York, and I got a job as a greeting card writer.
Okay.
And then that led to getting a job as a copywriter, which allowed me to work on award-winning brands such as like Manhattan Mini Storage, Seagram's Gin,
Oh, wow.
Park Fast. A lot of the campaigns I worked on are still running in the city today, which
Awesome.
is years later. So that was a lot of fun, and like I said, like all of those part-time jobs allowed me to have a vantage point about what it means to be a part-time employee, and eventually having my own business, and understanding the struggle of having a job that is just a placeholder for the bigger thing.
Yeah.
That was really good insight, because I really didn't have a full-time job until Brrrn happened.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's it.
So, yeah, where were you living at the time then, if in New York?
Yeah, so I moved with a buddy to Union City, New Jersey,
Okay.
and then eventually moved to Weehawken, which was like right across the street. So essentially, if you're familiar or not familiar with just like New York and everything around it, so like Weehawken is right above Hoboken,
Okay.
and it's very close. It's minutes away from the city. And so would take a bus into the city to and from work. What I didn't mention was I also worked as a private trainer. So I worked, first
Okay.
as a personal trainer at a gym, and then eventually as a private trainer. So that was really the job that was helping me stay afloat, because I had clients that were C-suite execs, some celebrities in film, fashion, and entertainment, and that really allowed me to build the confidence to sell myself by helping other people.
For sure.
But going back to where I lived, lived in Jersey, and then eventually moved into Manhattan in Washington Heights, and then moved to Brooklyn, and then and now currently reside back in Weehawken with my wife.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So I actually, I'm a touring drummer as well. So I go to Brooklyn a few times a year until COVID hit. So I'm pretty familiar with what you're talking about here. But yeah, Brooklyn and Manhattan, Joe's Pizza. I have to mention that, man.
Oh gosh, yeah, Good Joe's is great.
I'm from Indiana, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, Joe's Pizza. There's another one that we would go to late at night, which I always burn the first layer of skin off the roof of my mouth, which is artichoke pizza.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The pizza scene here in New York is unmatched. I mean, I
Sure.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, and we have really good pizza in Pennsylvania, specifically in the Old Forge area. And people who are from that area would say, "Oh, it's the best pizza in the world." But I think really anybody who lives anywhere will say that if they're proud of the things that come from that area. When The Office came out in Scranton, Scranton was like, "Oh my God!" It was once Scranton was coined as the Electric City, but there was really nothing electric about it until The Office kind of put it back on the map. So it's still riding the coattails of that show today. Yeah.
So you founded Brrrn in 2017. So what was the overall inspiration behind pursuing Brrrn at this time?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of starts in a very sensitive place, and then has I would say a heroic finish. But I was getting tired of doing a bunch of different things. I mean, it was to juggle a bunch of part-time jobs is no easy task. And in 2013, I was training a client at a corporate gym, and it was in the summertime, and she was feeling a little faint because it was actually getting as hot inside as it was outside.
Mm-hmm.
Something was wrong with the air conditioner, and so she was kind of feeling a little faint, and we were taking it easy. And then she just started talking about how she loves fall and winter, and how they were seasons for her that she was her fittest and felt her best. Mm-hmm. And she was explaining about the science of why she likes to sleep in the cold, why she just loves the cold more than the heat. And it was interesting to me. And, being a wrestler, I thought for the longest time, if I wasn't excessively sweating, my workout wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So that kind of hit a light bulb went off right there. And I was like, so if she in her opinion, being her fittest, which means she was able to perform much better under those conditions than she had, felt trim and the most toned while running and working out outdoors. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if that's true, if she felt good and also looked good in her opinion, then why aren't we turning the thermostat down when it comes to private or group exercise? Yeah. And so I went home and I Googled cold gyms or cool workouts, and I couldn't find anything. And I'm really good at finding stuff on Google. And I was really frustrated. So what I did find was just some preliminary research about how, the body has to work harder to stay warm than it does to dump heat. And that sweating is just a mechanism, a defense mechanism for your body to dump heat so that your organs don't melt, so that you can remain at 98.6. It has nothing to do with the quality of a workout. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I just got into it, and I found that there are no marathons that happen in the summer. They're in the fall and the spring, and that's for a reason. And got on to this guy named Ray Cronise, who was a former NASA scientist who incorporated a little bit of cold into his life to lose weight and to feel better after he observed that Michael Phelps was consuming thousands and thousands of calories per day, but not gaining any weight, actually getting stronger and getting better. And the reason is because he was training in a cooler temperature pool, and water is 24 times more thermoconductive than air. Mm-hmm. And so he was just dumping heat and burning calories without knowing that he was doing that, without knowing. Right. So that got me thinking about this. And so I came up with the name Brrrn, BRRN, because it was a pun off of burning calories and burr like you're cold. Mm-hmm. So that was the point. And then, 2 months later, after thinking the idea and just having it be another folder on my computer, my wife had been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
My first wife, and
Mm.
after 7 months of chemotherapy and being told she was cancer free, and then being told that it came back and was terminal, she unfortunately lost her life May 12th of 2014
Oh, I'm sorry.
when she was 29. Thanks,
Man.
man. And I was 29 as well. And you don't expect to go through that
No.
in your life so early, and being a guy that was trying to make a career out of helping people, whether to make them laugh or to make them sweat, it really did. It messed me up. Like
Yeah.
I changed, and I changed for the worse, but more for the better, because I realized just how quick life could just be gone,
For sure.
without your control, right? And to really make the most of the time we have here. So before my wife passed, like, one thing that she had said to me when we were just sort of talking to each other in hospice, she was just like, Jimmy, she's like, Brrrn's the thing, it's it's the thing that I'll be it's the proudest thing that I'll never get to see come to fruition.
Mm.
She's like, this is what you'll be known for. This is be one of the things that you'll be known for. And it's the thing that will allow you to make the most difference in this world.
Wow.
And so I just felt like there was a responsibility to live up to that,
For
that
sure.
blessing that she gave. And so when I came back 2 months later from after her passing, I lived at my parents' house for 2 months to kind of understand what life was going to be like after Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on my computer and I saw that Brrrn folder, and I said, I'm gonna put all my eggs in this basket. I'm gonna make this thing come true. And I met my business partner a month or two later. He was a private trainer in the same studio that I was in, and he was a former public health official. He was a guy that had a career in public health, and
Okay.
And he just seemed like the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with him in a coffee shop in New York, and he said, "This seems incredible. Let me just get back to you." And he wrote me a caps lock email the next day saying, "Holy shit, we got to do this together."
Yeah, that's awesome. So, where did Brrrn start? Where was your first facility then?
Yeah. So, well, before it took a while to get to opening the doors.
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
when you're trying to be, the new kid on the block, well, first I want to start by saying that I think it's the job of every innovator to improve the systems of their predecessors.
Mm.
So we knew that we were doing something that hasn't been done before in the industry. So there's already that like red flag and that caution that you have to take with being the first mover in a space,
Yeah.
because this is the first impression that you're going to make. So it better be a good one. So luckily, Johnny, with his public health background, was like, we got to do trials. We got to figure this thing out internally before we try to sell it to other people. And so we did a trial in 6 Point Brewery's beer fridge in Brooklyn with just Johnny and myself.
Okay.
We filmed it. It was very silly, but it was extremely beneficial because we were like, wow, like it was 38 degrees. It was a certain level of humidity that was safe to exercise in. And we were buzzing after. We're like, wow, I feel encouraged to move. I feel better moving in this type of environment. And then he's like, okay, we got to do it on other people. So I was fortunate to have a friend of mine who owns an ice factory in my hometown. And I said, hey man, how warm can you get this without losing all of your product? And he's like, 30 degrees. I'm like, done. So I got some of my mom's beauty shop customers and some of my friends from back home who were like former athletes. And we did this trial with like 14 people in 30 degrees, and they loved it. They were like, whoa, this is like different,
Yeah.
And so we got data, and then we realized that we didn't know how to run a business. So I told Johnny, like, I got another friend who is one of my private clients. He's a former investment banker and commercial real estate guy. And then Johnny's like, are you sure you're not in the mafia? I'm like, I swear to God, I'm not in the mafia. I don't just know a guy. So I approached this guy and sold him on the sizzle. And he's like, I want to be a founding partner and your first investor. And That got the ball rolling with creating a pitch deck, and then eventually having 300 failed pitches before we heard our first no. I mean, like literally think about virtually and face-to-face, a combination of both, being told, no, you're crazy 300 times. I mean, I built, again, a tolerance of no from being told thanks but no thanks as an actor and as a writer. But it watching 300 episodes of Shark Tank not go the way that the people, that the entrepreneurs want it to go,
for sure,
is very depressing. But we eventually got, it was a friends and family round. We raised close to $1.5 million and opened up our location in the most competitive fitness area in the world, in the Flatiron, Chelsea district of Manhattan, on May 1st, 2018.
Wow, that's amazing. So did you have to do any construction to maintain the cold temperatures that your studio requires, or is it simply just turning the thermostat down?
Yeah, no, it's a patent pending process.
Okay.
We were fortunate to have an investor and a gentleman by the name of Peter Bryant, who built a lot of the first Soul Cycles in Manhattan and other places across the country. And he was a former hockey player, like a semi-pro hockey player. And so he got refrigeration and he understood what we were trying to do. And we worked with him and his team of like mechanical and electrical and civil engineers to really find the best way to refrigerate the space in a cost-effective way that had a very low carbon footprint and actually helped refrigerate the rest of the studio. So we spent 6 to 8 months mapping this out before we did anything. And so luckily we're on the ground floor, and that really helped us with being able to design this the right way. And we had this like 2,000 square foot, this 2,800 square foot space in this, which was a former beer and cheese shop, ironically, and tried to make a fridge that would be able to house 24 to 30 people in a class. But the challenge was, what do we do in this fridge, in terms of exercise?
So what did your layout look like? Was it only cold temperatures inside the studios, or like the lobby, was that also refrigerated, or how did this look?
Yeah, for as much as I would love people to be cool the entire time, we knew that the fridge was the selling point. And, the look of the fridge, I'm sure you can go on the internet and see videos, but we had a very beautiful like glass door. Like it was a really nice key piece. It was like our Instagrammable moment. Every time people came, they took a photo in front of the fridge door, with the thermostat right there. But imagine like an opera ski lodge, like an Aspen Lodge feel. Like you walk in, you see repurposed wood everywhere. You have an incredibly warm experience with our team, and then a very chill experience with our workouts, which, by the way, wasn't at 30 degrees. It was at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, because we realized through like the science and also through our personal experience that 50 was like the sweet spot. So we did 50 minutes of exercise in 50 degrees and did a variety of different exercises, one of which is this thing called a slide board. And it's like this 5 to 6 foot, by 2 feet yoga mat looking thing that you can put booties over your shoes and slide like you're a speed skater or a roller skater. And it's by far one of the best low impact and high intensity workouts that you can do. And anybody who's ever done it, from professional to collegiate to Olympic athletes to Pilates enthusiasts to people in the 90s who used to do it in like the whole step aerobics area, it is a workout experience that stays with you for a few days, because you definitely feel it. So so it was a combination of that and just like your traditional classes with like dumbbells and kettlebells and battle ropes and rowing machines, and trying to really have this low to high impact class experience that you can do 7 days a week, 8 times a day. Not you can work out 8 times a day, but you have 8 opportunities to work out at our studio. So, and we also had a infrared sauna experience, because we do feel that heat is beneficial, but just not while you're moving. So we had this communal infrared sauna experience. So that was a big sell during the winter time, because people can, what we say, earn their heat after they chill with us in the fridge.
That's awesome. So how would you begin to advertise the new studio when it was finished to obtain some of your first customers?
Yeah, getting people to warm up to cool temperatures was not easy. So,
Yeah.
I knew with my background as a copywriter, you have to sell them emotionally.
Hmm.
Um, the first step on the path to make things better is to make better things, and that's a quote from Seth Godin in his book This Is Marketing, which I highly recommend to anybody who wants to build incredible things to help incredible people.
Okay.
And so we knew that we had to find a different way to have this conversation. So at first glance, people are like, "Oh God, the cold is scary. Cold's a threat," and I don't blame them because we've been trying to survive the cold for millennia. Like in these bodies that we have, like cold has been a threat.
Hmm.
Um, but when it comes to exercise, like when it comes to just health and wellness in general, it's actually an ally. From cold showers to cryotherapy to a cold plunge to exercising in cooler temperatures to sleeping in cooler temperatures. Your life is better because of it,
Hmm.
not the opposite. So, language like it's a crisp fall morning, not a dark wintry night, or punny sort of stuff that gets people to pay attention.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, the novelty of our brand being the only studio in the world, and actually the only studio out of 38,000 fitness centers in the country at that time to do what we did. We had a spotlight on our studio right from the start, so it was our responsibility to earn the title as the first mover in this space,
For sure.
and we did, and we got incredible press. And from the New York Times to Vogue to having Ryan and Kelly come through our doors to you name it.
That's awesome.
We were relevant in every season. In summertime, we were your go-to choice. In the fall, we were exactly what we were in the fridge as it was outside. In the winter, it was actually a breath of fresh air because you went from below 32 degrees into a 72 degree lobby into a 50-degree fridge, which actually felt great instead of going from cold to hot to cold.
Yeah.
And then again, relevant again back in the spring. So we were on track of really expanding this concept beyond our flagship location, and we're discussing opportunities to scale, and then COVID happened.
Oh man. Yeah, for sure. So from a customer standpoint, what does the experience look like, such as classes offered and sign up process? What does that look like as a customer?
Yeah, I mean, if you're accustomed to boutique fitness, it's a higher price point because it's a more of a specialized form of of exercise. So
Yeah.
we were on the lower end price point wise because I wanted to make this accessible. So anywhere from 26 to $36 a class, depending upon how many classes you buy.
Hmm.
We had memberships. We had we had partnerships with ClassPass and other geo targeted companies to really get people to buy into what we were doing. You would have to reserve ahead of time. You would wait in the lobby before you'd be greeted by the instructor about what to expect in the class. Then you would all walk in to the fridge and then walk out sweaty and confused why you had such a great time in 50 degrees, and
Yeah.
then you would come back for more. So that was sort of it. And, we were thinking about how to create new verticals with our company. Like, how could we imbue a cool experience, not just in person, but also at home?
Yeah.
What products and services make sense around our brand? And we were thinking those thoughts. And obviously us following through on them have been accelerated by the state mandate to shut down. We actually shut down 2 days before we were told to,
Okay.
in March, but we had to get creative. Otherwise we knew that we were going to, have to close our business.
For sure. So yes, following up to that, I saw that you guys are offering digital classes, which I really acknowledge. And you guys also sell the Brrrn board, which is the sliding board you were talking about. So what does that customer experience look like now if they can watch it from home?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, the Brrrn experience, I'm not asking you to turn up your air conditioning and to slide back and forth. You can, I do it. It feels incredible. But,
Yeah.
The way that I get my chill on at home is either through, it's through cold showers. because my wife hasn't approved of me getting a cold plunge yet. And as they say, happy wife, happy life. So
For sure.
I'm gonna uphold that. So yeah, the Brrrn board, because it was like the show, like really a signature experience in our brand. We were being asked throughout the course of us, being open from 2018 to March of 2020, which, by the way, over 23,000 people had come through our doors. We had over 70,000 reservations. So a lot of people had experienced this slide board, and we were becoming just as known for that as we were for our cool temperature experience. So it was an easier transition to say, hey, we're going to actually design workouts on and off this slide board with our Brrrn at Home. So, Brrrn at Home, you have the option to buy, you will have the option to buy currently, 3 different types of slide boards. We have a 5-foot board, which is recommended for people that are like 5'5" and shorter. Mm-hmm. We have a 6-foot board, which is recommended for people who are like 5'5" and taller. And then we have a 5-foot to 6-foot adjustable board, which is recommended for basically households who are, sharing this board and people who are, of different heights in their household. So,
okay.
That's that. And, we have, 8 different categories of workouts. One's called slide, one's called cardio sculpt, one's called core, one's called boot camp, which is just sort of body part specific boot camp exercises that you can do with and without the board. We have a recovery class, which is more of like stretching and mobility. We have a yoga class. We have a breath class, which is all about breathing meditations, which was something that we did in our studio. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be introducing more as we go. So it's really some stuff that you can do 7 days a week. We have a core class, stuff that you can do 7 days a week, and use this board in a different way to really better your health where you are right now, which is at home.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So outside of the temperature difference, what would you say separates Brrrn from your other fitness companies out there?
I think the way that we approach fitness, we like to talk about fitness without talking about fitness. And we would joke at the studio. We said, we're cool because the thermostat says so. We weren't a brand that felt like that it fell in love with its own reflection. We wanted people to feel like they knew us in that first impression, like just to feel something familiar in a first impression. Mm-hmm. We wanted to be a cost-effective option within a ridiculously overpriced boutique fitness community. Yeah. And we always wanted the studio to be a proof of concept studio. We wanted people to know that, we would like the studio to eventually be cash flow positive, which it was on track to doing in, again, like in a few, 2 short years of being in business. Mm-hmm. And to have it be a reference point for all the other types of things that we would want to do with the studio, whether it be through a private, scaling it privately, or through a franchise model. So yeah, I mean, if you ask anybody who's come through our doors, I think the first thing they'll comment on, besides our inimitable experience, is how they felt when they walked in and when they walked out of our studio.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So I like to conclude each episode with this. If you could share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, what would that be? Maybe something you've learned or regret, just anything.
Yeah. So if you're somebody who's thinking of an idea, mm-hmm. Consider this. You are only as strong as your idea is only as strong as the people that you share it with. Mm. I couldn't have done this by myself. I didn't have the skill set to do it by myself. It was very challenging to share this with somebody, especially because it came from a very personal place. But I realized that it wouldn't have come to fruition if I didn't let it out in the world and have it be, developed with incredible people around me. So, I would say, how they say, don't be afraid to kill your darlings. Don't be afraid to share them as well, because your stuff will be better because of it. I would also say that it's a very uncertain time right now, and who knows what the future holds. But what we do have control with is how we show up to things. And if something's keeping you up at night, there's a reason it's doing that. and Brrrn kept me up at night, and I kept ignoring it because I was like, oh no, but I'm like a writer and performer and all these things. I took a step back and realized that manifesting like Brrrn into existence was actually an amalgamation of all the things I'm passionate about, like being, creatively, through fitness, just changing the conversation through some sort of disruptive thought. I answered that call because I knew if I didn't, it would somebody else would have. And I did it I was doing it always for the right reasons. I wanted to make a difference on a personal level, the same way that my mom did as a hairdresser, and knew that the fate of this brand wasn't up to me. The same way that when a screenwriter writes a script or a novelist writes a book, it becomes the people who consume it, right?
For sure.
And our brand eventually became a byproduct of the community that we created, and that's not something that I knew until I started this point. So the things that you create don't become yours after you create them, and also dreams are hard when they come true. So
sure.
be prepared for that.
Absolutely. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining me. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Brrrn at thebrrrn.com.
Amazing. And you can find our slide boards and check out what we're doing at shop.thebrrrn.com. And we're actually giving our subscription, our at-home subscription away for free until January 15th, 2021. So if you're just curious as to how this stuff looks, I'm extremely proud of how we shot this content. And you can visit it at home.thebrrrn.com.
Awesome. Jimmy, thank you so much for that. Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of Starting Small. If you would, leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Also, follow Starting Small Pod on social platforms to keep up to date on future guests.